Oh, Justin, how are you, my friend?
I'm tired. It's early.
Yeah, so this morning did my text wake you up or was it like,
No, I had a 6 o'clock
well,
alarm that went off, and I looked at it and saw that there was no text from you, and I was like, "Oh, maybe we're sleeping in today." And then when my 9 o'clock, the like reminder alarm, like if you just snooze it, it comes back around. I checked my
yeah,
phone then, and there was a chat text from you, and I was like, "And I guess I'm getting up." So
I'm only gonna share this so you and our most devoted listener, aka my wife,
possibly
will
Kevin
hear this
Giannotti.
and keep me accountable. But for Lynn, I gave up sleeping in
Oh,
and
you?
it was going pretty well. The last couple of days has not gone so well. But I'm back on the horse. I was up today. I know we all do this, laid there for a few minutes, but it was like, okay, like these eyes are gonna close again if I don't get
Listen, you were up.
up.
In my book, you were up. So, um, no, I'm all right. There's still not much on the uh, job front. Still waiting to hear from Brownsbridge. They had a third candidate jump in at the last minute, so hopefully they're getting their stuff with him sorted this week. This week in here, hopefully this week because we have the preschooler variable and preschools close fast, or fill up fast. Uh, I also applied to Samaritan's Purse, which is a nonprofit
Oh yeah,
agency. Do you guys work closely with them? Somebody somewhere that I was a part of works closely with Samaritan's Purse, and I can't seem to
not
keep track.
officially. I do know some people
Okay.
that serve with them, volunteer, go places
Mm-hmm.
with them, but I don't think 1122 officially does anything.
Interesting. But anywho, so there's a possible, I suppose, route there. Then there's the Atlanta History Center. Found them
Oh
through.
yeah, we talked a little bit about that. Okay.
We did.
You had mentioned there was a potential opportunity there. I
I don't
think
remember talking. I remember
maybe
talking about
I'm,
I remember talking about a museum that I still haven't had the ability to finish the application for because professional references. So I don't even know if that application is still open.
mm,
The Atlanta History Center is not the same thing, but they're looking for a
right.
research manager. My background's in history, which means my background is in research, so
Yeah.
it should be a good fit. So hopefully some of these balls will start rolling or bouncing or shaking or something this week. It would be nice. But I did get to do some freelance video shoot stuff last week, which was good. So anyway, that's me in a nutshell. Keep it short. Chad, how are you?
Nice. Pretty good. Let's see. Saturday, we had Pierce's Eagle Scout ceremony. Finally, it finally came and it was amazing. Um, you know, I had a bunch of people come out. We were totally blessed by everybody that came. It was really cool. Um, didn't really know how many we're gonna have because um uh the RSVP is an art that I guess has not brought itself into the post-COVID era, I guess. But
Yeah.
it was like we're good. We got the space. They had this little like cabin, they called it scout hut. It's like old, like built in 1940. Awesome. Little it's small, but it's a really cool, like it's kind of one of those things you walk in, you're like, oh yeah, they don't make them like this anymore. Like
Hmm.
wood rafters and just, wood floor
Yeah.
cedar siding. It's like you light a match in that place and poof. But it's a really cool spot. So we had the spot. We had, um, you know, got some food. So like, okay. we'll see what happens. And man, they filled that place up. So it was a good time. Took forever. So the way they work is like, so Pierce turned 18 back in July. So he submitted everything. And which is so for those that don't know, 18 is the deadline. Like once you're 18, you're no longer a Boy Scout, right? Because you're now a man, no longer a boy. So submitted everything. It took, a while to come back. It finally came back. And then it was like, trying to pick a date that works with everybody, yada yada, all that stuff. So we finally got it this weekend and it was awesome. Um he so the tradition is kind of formal, like sit down dinner, like, like awards banquet.
Mm,
And he's like, no. He's like, can I just like get my award and we go home or like go out to dinner or something? And I'm
that's how
like,
I would be.
yeah, that's not really how it works. Um, so we compromised a little bit. And
Yeah.
so, but it was cool. Everybody got to hang around afterwards and talk with them and, catch up. And people got to meet other people kind of in our friend and family group that didn't know and stuff. So it was cool. It was fun. And then yesterday I went and played pickleball with some young 20s, as I do occasionally. Sean was there. I played horribly. Um, it was a good time, but yeah, no W's yesterday. So, but it was fun. So, anyway, so that is me for right now.
Nice. Apparently my 2-year-old's awake, so we might have a guest on the show here in a second.
Oh, okay.
Yay for being awake at 6:47 in the morning. Awesome.
So, so Justin, I don't really know what our first Abraham, aka Abram episode turned out like because I think as we discussed the last time, kind of had to record it a couple times, which I was thinking I can't remember us losing an episode. Um, so
I
I
don't I
guess,
don't think we have. I think I've managed to salvage. I think there was one previous time where we had some kind of weird recording blip and I
ah,
salvaged it. But
okay. So
yeah.
I'll I'll listen to it. And actually, I don't I used to like listen to or watch all of our episodes. I haven't done that in a while, but I might do this one just to say, "Oh, hey, how did it work out? What did I actually say?" So, um, but I think so today we're continuing, right? In the next little bit of the
Yeah,
Abraham
we're gonna
saga.
take the next 10 minutes and fly through. Well, I think we just talked about what you brought up at a time.
Okay. Yeah, so um just to recap what we talked about last time was um Abram and Sarah. I remember his name has not yet been changed to Abraham and hers to Sarah. So
Mhm.
Abram and Sarai, they pick up and move because God told Abram to pick up and go to where he's going to lead them, and so they
Yeah.
do. And um, in the next little bit we have here, we have Abram and Sarai landing in Egypt, and um, so the first thing you and I kind of talked about was um, the whole concept of God calling you to do something, and we just assume that, well, if God told me to do this, that means it's going to go awesome, right? And but what we see in verse 10, the very first sentence in this next part, um, now there was a famine in the land, right? So so that was kind of the first thing you and I were talking about before we started recording is
Yeah.
that um they show up and we don't really know what his thoughts were, but um at least, kind of you and I, our experience is that when we feel like God is calling us to do something, that we would say, okay, well, God's gonna provide a way. It's gonna go well. Like he's not just hanging me out to dry. Like uh this is gonna happen. He's gonna provide. Um But as Abraham sees here, like it's not the
Yeah.
picturesque circumstance that you might imagine, right?
Yeah, it's gonna force him to go into Egypt, which is probably what we'll talk more about next week because of the decisions he makes as far as like what he does with his family going into Egypt. But yeah, so here he is, he's going to the land. And I think it's the same for us, right? Oh, God's calling me to this new business, or God's calling me to this marriage, God's calling me to, and that's a very loose use. It's a loose use of the term calling.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure there are people who are getting a little like, that's not a calling. But some people do view it that way where they're like, oh no, this is what God's called me to. And then they get there, they get to the business, they get to the marriage, they get to the house, they get to the new state, new country, new whatever. And then it's famine. All of a sudden things are not what they because I mean I think there's a I think and I think some of that expectation is there's usually an excitement. Usually when God's called you to something, there's an excitement about it. You're like, oh man, God's calling me to something and I'm ready to go. Like, let's go. Let's get it done. Let's run, you know? I mean, imagine Abraham. Here comes God to his face in person. Hey, I'll make you a great nation. All these promises, go. I'm gonna be Sarah. We're gonna be a great nation. Let's go. Like, we better hurry. Like, let's get this on. You know. To then walk into a land and it's like the first land they come into. Hey, this one's not for you. This one's for your kids. Okay. Well, the kids part's exciting. Let's keep going and get to the next land. Yeah, this one's got
Hey,
famine.
babe, where are we going? Now we're here.
No, we're here. Yeah, yeah. So I think that's so. I think that's realistic. Often as we get called into places and then we're like, wait, where's the promise? Where's the blessing? Where's the benefit?
And not to go too far and just try to smooth everything out, but like I know I know a lot of times when I look back on things, like for example, Pierce's scouting journey, right? Which he's still involved now. He's a leader, but when I would have seen him entering in as a Cub Scout, right?
Yeah.
Um, I would have seen things going a little bit differently. Uh, Mostly because and this is one of the things I shared there is just like when we got him involved and we went like on our first camping trip, I was like, oh, this thing was made for this kid. Like, hey, y'all, thanks all for participating, but like we appreciate y'all being here, but like this thing was like it was made for him. He gets to play with, we get to go camping, you know, play with
Play with
fire,
fire.
learn how to use a knife, right? All of these, pine wood derby and all of these little things that he got to do and tinker with and build and create, and he's just like loving it. And we see him really prosper. And then he really came upon some challenges, and it came to the point where it's like, oh, okay, are we done here? Um, and you don't anticipate a lot of the things that we would see at the time as negative things, right? Happening. But those are really the things that formed him more so than the good things that happened, right? It's when there was nobody else there senior to him. So he had to be the one to be the leader when he felt he wasn't ready.
Hmm.
But here we are, right? So um, these are the things that shaped him. And those are probably the things that, the canoe trip he went on to Minnesota where they had to do what they call portage, which is you canoe across a body of water, pick up all your stuff above your head,
Hmm.
walk over the hill to the next body of water, rinse and repeat. And his scoutmaster shared a story where Pierce came to him on that trip and was like, yeah, I think I want to go back. And he was like, Pierce, I'm sorry, but first of all, I don't want to go back. And second of all, like, who is going to go back with you? Uh, Nobody. So I know this, in game pep talk, right? I know this is hard, but here we go. And
Yeah.
um, but those are the kinds of things that shaped him and showed him what he is able to do. And right. And I guess my long-winded point here is when you get on the other side of some of these trials and you see, oh, I totally see how that is really the thing that shaped me, how God really used a lot of
Mm-hmm.
those things, and I would be a completely different person if he didn't do that. I heard Pastor Joby give a analogy one time where he's like, he's like, a lot of times I want God to take me and put me on the mountain, right? Or top of the hill or whatever. He's like, but a lot of times what I see him do is he grabs me, drags me through the mud, and then
Yeah.
sets me up on top of that hill.
Yeah.
And I find that I really resonate with that sometimes. But um, you know, oddly enough, a lot of the time when I see kind of the twists and turns where I had envisioned a straight path, like
Yeah.
those are a lot of times the things that form us. So
Yeah.
just a thought for your Monday morning.
That's no, that's good. That's good. I was gonna say I think this is at least an Abram's example. When you get to the end of his account in Genesis, then of course he's inducted into the Hall of Faith in Hebrews 11.
Right.
I think it's built on these moments where he's like, "Well, there's a famine here," and then he's gonna have to go through a weird and trying season and keep just putting his faith in God. And I think that's part of it is just even in the famines, is he there? Actually, it's funny. We got 3 minutes. I'll try and share this. My wife was sharing this. So the high school girls she leads on Sunday nights, they're starting this series on miracles. They're studying miracles. And she was telling me that as she's talking with her co-leaders, she's like, I'm having a hard time. I don't know if she's having a hard time, but her students are having a hard time of kind of grasping the idea of miracles because they've yet to have a need. They've yet to have a need for a miracle. They've yet to have a like a bump,
Mm,
everything's so I think
yes.
it's the same. I don't know where this pops in with this idea of faithfulness and just keep going. But I think that's part of it, right? Like God has to get us to a place where we're like, oh crap, yeah, we need you. Like if Abram had gotten to the land and there was no famine, I don't think we don't have an account here to study. What would it be? Genesis 11, 12, 10. Abram gets to the land and it was plentiful and he settles down and they have kids. The end. Like, I don't.
It'd be a genealogy. That's about it.
Right. So big guy, so big guy, so big guy, so. So I think that's just part of it is like, yeah, we're gonna hit famines, but that's because it's supposed to develop our faith. It's supposed to trust. It's that okay, God, I need a miracle, you know? And then it's are you gonna trust God for the miracle or not? Or are you gonna try to force your own? And
Yeah.
well, just like those scientists who try to force the Big Bang Theory, good luck. So there you go. That's my
Yeah.
2 cents with the time we had.
Yeah, man. That's a good point. One thing I've heard a lot lately is what is it that you need to be saved? You need. And that's one of the hardest things to convince people of right now, right?
Mm,
Um, is like,
yeah.
and other people from other like third world type countries come here and they say, oh, like, no wonder um people here don't follow Jesus very closely. You don't need them, you
Nope.
know? And those are
Yeah,
those are
it's
kind of sobering words to hear, but like as you think about it, you're like, oh wow, like there's some truth in that.
yeah, there's no urgency or agency here. There's no threat of death, no unknown. Yeah, for sure. I've heard Joby talk about that before too. But we need to sign off here because you got places to run and be. So listeners, I hope you enjoyed this 25-minute episode format,
We
if
made
not
it through
shorter.
one verse.
Here we go. Hey, there you go.
But yeah,
Um,
no, I think this was good though. Like, um, just kind of the whole thought of like the twists and turns and as we get through this, you know, this this story, this epic, this uh,
journey.
account of Abram and Sarai, I think at the end we'll kind of see, where God's hand was and all of that. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's good. Sometimes it's good. Like you don't want to put something as we're talking about. Like you don't want to assume like, oh, this is what Abraham was thinking because we don't
Yeah.
know. But um, it is good to know. Oh, you know what? He's not so far off from being human, right?
Right.
Um, even though he's like this patriarch, like you said, in the Hall of Faith, all these kinds of things, but he was still a guy, right? And he
Hmm.
showed up to this place, and it was kind of like, oh wow, it's
Yeah.
not great.
Yeah.
God, what are you gonna do now, right? And
What's
then
next?
yeah, he's in a place where he needs God to provide. So um, whenever that happens, it's kind of like, you know, it's exciting in a couple of ways, like, oh God, what are you gonna do? And like, oh Lord, what are you gonna do?
For sure. Well, Chad, we'll catch up with you soon. Go do the things you need to do, and I'm going to go entertain a 2-year-old because
All right.
that's what we do.
Yep, I'm gonna get to it. So hey, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Make it a good week, my friend.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.